Reframing as a way to change parties' perspectives in mediation. Part of this series, Mediation with or Without Attorneys with Ty Bordoni. This is what we are going to talk about today.
Welcome to the Lawyers and Mediators International Show and podcast by instantmediations.com, where we discuss law and conflict resolution topics to educate both professionals and everyday people. Catch regular episodes on YouTube, the Instant Mediations app, and anywhere you get your podcasts. Just remember, nothing in these episodes constitutes legal advice, so be sure to talk to a lawyer, as cases are fact dependent.
Hello and welcome. My name is Natalia Łowska-Czajka, advocate, mediator, and arbitrator from Warsaw, Poland.
And hi, everybody. Mac Pierre-Louis here, attorney, mediator, arbitrator, working throughout Florida and Texas.
And I'm Ty Bordoni, the Director of Mediation at CPLS in Central Florida and Orlando, and a primary mediation trainer as well.
And it's our pleasure on instantmediations.com to have with us Ty Bordoni from Florida again to talk about something that is of utmost interest because it's a very important tool in mediation and actually like a test for mediator skills as well. What we are going to talk about is reframing. And many people heard what it was. Many people know that they should be using it. Many people heard that it is so effective. But let's speak to the mediator primary trainer and learn more how it should be used and what it consists of. Ty, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. As always, great to be back with you guys. And yeah, reframing it's a great tool for a mediator, but it's not just a skill that works in mediation. It's a skill that works in real life as well. You can reframe anybody. And so, maybe you're having problems at work with somebody, or maybe, as a mediator, we need to help get parties to shift from when they come to mediation, they have like these blinders on and they're stuck in a position that they have been thinking about incessantly again and again and again. And emotions are ruling the day. They're not thinking rationally. And they're typically entrenched in what they believe is what happened and what should happen. And they're right and the other one is wrong. And so how do you get folks to see a different way, right? To see a different solution, to find some other manner of perception that can help them move forward, right? And so what a mediator has to do, the first thing you have to do is you have to kind of set the stage in mediation. You can't just start reframing, right? You have to, so what is it that you have to do? You have to get the parties to trust you. How do you get the parties to trust you? You have to build rapport with them. How do you, build rapport with them? And so I kind of gave you, so before you can start reframing, they have to be, the party has to be in a place where they're going to hear you and they're going to listen, right? So before they will listen, you have to listen, right? So after we give our opening statements, right, typically we turn it over to the parties and we say, okay, let me know, what's going on, or where do you see whatever, or you'd let them give their opening statement. And so the way we listen, right, and that we're listening, we're being an active listener, right? That is, we're being engaged, we're being authentic, we're communicating non-verbally with them, right? By leaning in a little bit, you tilt your head around over, maybe you'll, right. No, I see that. Right. You see, you're engaged, really engaged, engrossed even, so that everybody likes to be listened to. Everybody needs to be listened to. And our parties, typically, they need to vent. And so we're doing many things at that time, right? So while I'm being an active listener and I'm coming across as listening to you and hinging on your every word, really, I'm doing a few different things. I'm listening for the issues. I'm seeing what's going on. I'm trying to see what their interests are, right? I'm doing a lot of things, but I'm coming across to them as being someone who cares and someone who hears them, someone who's paying attention. And so what are you telling yourself? while someone is really listening to you, you're thinking to yourself, Natalia gets me. Mac understands what I'm saying. And so active listening is a really, really important part of it. And letting them talk is a really important part of it, so that they believe and see you as someone who's, well, I don't want to say on their side, but who understands them, and their sense is gonna, their everyone wants to be understood. So you're starting to build rapport with them, right? They need to trust us. And so once you've done that, now they've vented, they're probably being a bit emotional in what their position is. They've told you what's bothering them, and you have an idea, hopefully, of what it is that they want. So now I've set the stage, I've let them talk. Now this is 10-15 minutes later, or something like that, right? And so then the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to validate what they're going through, right? Everybody not only needs to be listened, but they want to be validated. They want to feel as if they've been heard. And so you'll say something like, I see what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it really bothers you that, or I can understand why that bothers you. You feel as if, validate their perspective. Now, you've built rapport, you've listened, they're seeing you as an ally, and you just validated them, right? And then once you validate them, then what you want to do is you want to take the problem, and you want to give them a positive outcome, and you want to frame it towards a future perspective, in a future perspective, right? And so now it sounds easier, said than done, but you can really do that in any situation as where you're not emotional. So I think my skills, I hope I have good skills, but they don't always work at home. They don't always work at home because I'm emotional, right? So I'm not rational, but the rational party, that third party, the mediator, we can see sometimes the things that are going on. And if they trust us, then when we reframe their typically negative emotion, their negative statement, we're going to give it to them in a way they haven't been looking at it. And we're trying to give them a solution to show them, have you considered this? And is what might be the result after sometime in the future, right? And then we now you might have to do this a few different times, right? But you're going to start to hit on the perspective that they're good with. And so now when we talk, that's what we're using, that new perspective. And then when you go over to the other side, you do the same thing in the way that would be best and most appropriate for that individual, right? The other thing is, it's not a recipe, so to speak. It's not A, B, C, D. Oh, you've been reframed. You got to do it differently with the parties in front of you. You have to give people what they need. You're reading the room at all times. So the mediator, again, you're using your instincts and your experience. The more you do it, the better you become at it. And you'd be surprised. And I think a big part of it is that when you validate someone, most people don't validate the other first. And people like that. Now they're really trusting you, and they're going to hear in a way that they haven't been able to hear before, if you see what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah. I was gonna ask a question of Natalia actually before I follow up with you, and that is, Natalia. Recently, we had done a talk with Doug Knoll on the book De-escalate, and a lot of what Ty has just mentioned was, themes that were in that book about having people, because we're all creatures of emotion, right?
Yeah.
And we all have strong passions, but helping people feel that they're being heard, they're being listened to. Natalia, could you speak to that a little bit? Just because I know that you got pretty deep into that book,
Hmm.
and connected to what Ty had just said.
Yeah, absolutely. Mac, if you in the meantime can, for our listeners and viewers, share the screen to show the video we did with the author of this book. And let me remind you the title. The title is De
Yeah.
Escalate: How to Calm Down an Angry Person in Less Than 90 Seconds.
Hmm.
And the author is Douglas E. Knoll. Doug Knoll, whom we had a really real pleasure to interview together with Dr. Manuso on our podcast. And that is one of his methods, the key elements of the methods he is using to actually achieve this effect, calm down people's emotions to bring out the rational part of them. So how he does it via affect labeling. And then also, when we label their affects, we are validating their emotions.
Mhm.
We are making them aware of their emotions, but we're also telling them how much that they mean to us, that we notice them and their world. Douglas Noll is actually making a very strong point about it, and it is being done on the basis of solid research and neuroscience, meaning that if we don't validate people's emotions, they feel that we reject them
Mm.
entirely, that we reject their worlds, their
Mm.
perspective, anything they've been through. So validating their emotions is not just a mere statement, oh, I see what you've been through. Okay. It's making them really, it intersects with active listening, because you are
Mhm.
making that being heard and seen and noticed. Which actually, this is an interesting point about this book. And then noticing and labeling these emotions in 90 seconds is enough to calm people down to the moment where they can freely speak, just having these emotions like satisfied,
Yeah.
because someone
Mm.
noticed it. They were legitimate in going through it. On the other hand, what also Douglas Noll does, he claims that, and again, gives resources for that, how emotional invalidation can hurt
Mm.
not only people's relationships, but their entire life, including their health. And there has been so much in terms of that, that all those hurtful statements like, I don't have time for that, I am not going to listen to you, calm
Yeah.
down and then we'll speak. Uh, all of that can actually bring physical diseases onto people when they experience that. So all these,
Mm.
let us say, childhood issues we had with teachers, parents, other relatives, or actually even partners in our adult lives that were disregarding our emotions can really cause us have very deep regrets and very deep emotional hurts.
Yeah.
Mediation, therefore, might be the place where the first time people can feel that they're validated, that their emotions are true,
Yeah.
necessary, and have been respected.
Yeah.
And actually, what also Douglas Knoll, him being a lawyer and mediator as we are, he's also
California.
saying, and this is a very good moment, because this actually brings an awful relief on people.
Mm.
So the moment they're relieved, they feel secured,
Mm.
and they that opens the floor for them to speak, but to speak with the rational part, because the
Right.
emotional part has already been satisfied.
That's right.
Yeah. And so
Yes. Oh, well
I'm
said.
sorry I stole some of your thunder there, Ty, but
No, I loved
I
it.
wanted to
It's
pull that
absolutely
in.
right.
Yeah, because it connected so
I think
directly to
so.
what
My
we were
gosh.
just talking about a few weeks ago. And I'm like, ooh, I gotta send this share. I gotta send
No,
this
I
share.
love that. I
And
love that.
so, but
Great
no,
idea sharing that book as well. Good
yeah,
points.
yeah, and so, but step one, listening, active listening. Step two, validation, and then step three. I think step three is where it gets kind of challenging or difficult. I think this is where the artwork comes into it, where the
Yeah. Right.
experienced mediator, you can
Yeah.
actually see an experienced mediator, separate them from somebody who might not be experienced, because they're able to then pivot the
Yeah.
parties perspectives
Yeah.
and lead them somewhere where they can start seeing things differently, or and help and get help in making a decision rationally. Let me give you guys an example. Suppose you're doing a divorce mediation and one of the parties was cheated on,
Mm.
and there was issues of adultery. Well, a lot of times the person, the let's say the victim's spouse, is gonna go for blood, right? They're going to want maybe a disproportionate share, or they're gonna want money to be reimbursed back. And there's all sorts of things that come up in divorce litigation all the time, and
Pound of
family law
flesh. They
cases.
want it. Yeah.
Exactly, they want their justice. And
Yeah.
so imagine if you're doing a mediation and you come to that party, the victim party, and you
Right.
tell them, you know what, we don't got time for that. Or no one's
At your
that's not
peril.
important. Or you know what, the judge won't really care about
Mm.
that. So why don't we just move on to the property division into the kids? So This is why I always say that the work we do is God's work, because of the fact that we're helping people, literally saving people's lives and keep them from like diseases in the future by giving them outlet, okay, giving them opportunity to be heard, giving them at least a sense that they've gotten some kind of justice, especially if the mediation does settle, but it's settled on terms where they still kind of feel angry that that they never got, to get out of their system the poison that was there because they were so hurt, okay, and angered and abused. And so this is why it's all connected. But Ty, if you could continue on with the this third um you know
Mm,
step of
yeah,
now doing the transitioning.
yeah. So once you validate them, great points, by the way. Natalia, thank you for helping us see it that way, and Mac for pointing out, because is it? I've seen mediators get impatient and want to get to what they think is the solution, and the solution being, well, what are you going to do with the house? You can't get folks to decide that if they haven't been validated, if they don't see you as a partner, if they don't think that you're vested, if they don't think that I trust Knack. He's gonna, I hope he's gonna help me, is what they're telling themselves. This is a really tough time for them. We need to be their ally. And so let's assume we've gotten there and now they're opening up. And so when we're now going to give them, try and give them some kind of solution, a positive perspective in a future orientated time frame, in listening to them, right, as you mediate after a while, you can hear when they're saying, this is what happened, and this is why I'm here, and I need this. And you heard the I need this. What is it that they need? What are their interests and what are their goals? And so you have to try and find the place where both parties' interests and goals intersect, and help them also see you really are not as much as enemies as you are ally. You guys are kind of stuck. Like if there's children, you guys are kind of stuck. You're going to be grandparents together, right? So we have to find the things that are the commonalities. And so based on what they've said, you're going to choose, if you see something, and typically you'll see, okay, this is the thing that they need. And so do I see a way that, based on my experience, based on different ways I've seen this play out in the past, or based on what I've heard each of them say, sometimes you can see, oh, they both kind of want this. They're just unable to get there because this thing happened, right? And so sometimes listening to them helps them get over that thing, or you have to use some other technique. But the point of the matter is, what is it that we give them? What our instincts tell us is their interest and how to meet that goal. And so you say, and I know you're feeling this way and that way and that way. But I wonder, because as I'm listening to you and I'm listening to him or her, I am seeing X, and I'm wondering, is it possible for us to get to X if we do Y and Z? And by this time, this is what might end up happening. What do you think about that? And so, but you're doing it based on what they're saying, and you're using your gut and your instincts, and you're recognizing, okay, these are the elements to work with. These are the issues. This is what's pissing them off. How do I fix that? I mean, it's case by case, but that's the other thing we're doing when we're listening. Not only are we actively listening, not only are we building rapport, not only are we building trust, but we're looking for those little hidden gems and pieces that we need. We're looking for the pieces of the puzzle and trying to put them together. And then we have to get them to be okay putting that puzzle together, right? And so you have to reframe it. Take it from a negative, and everything they say is in a negative because it's happened in a negative way. And you have to show them how it could turn into something positive. Right. And so your instinct, right, we become better mediators with experience, is what tells you, this is that thing. This is what their interests are. This is what their goal is. And maybe this is the thing. Right. And sometimes that third party who doesn't have a dog in the fight, who's vested in a solution, can see something they haven't been able to see. And if they both trust you and they trust the process and you've built your rapport, you can help them see it, and you're reframing it and you're putting it in a way that's palatable for them, that makes sense, and helping them start to think differently. And if they can come up with that in mediation, and then they're vested in that outcome. It's one thing when a judge says, this is what you're going to do. You might hate it. But when you yourself come up with that solution, you're now vested, and the probability is higher that the parties are gonna actually stick to it, or at the very least, it's going to be more effective solution than sometimes a court ordered and imposed solution, if that makes sense.
It does. And thank you, Ty, because what you've just shown us is a very good thing and a difference between reframing being a method that is transforming people's thinking, people's mind, people's attitudes, rather than just being repeating what
Yeah.
they've just said
Right.
in another way, which
Right.
would be then just a reality check that, okay, did I understand you correctly? You are saying this and this. What you are saying, in this sense, reframing is shifting people's emotions, attitudes into another level when
Mhm.
they can see clearly, when they can act logically, and when they can find solutions for them. And I think it is a very positive message about the mediation in general. And I hope to hear more on that from you soon. And with that, I want to close for today. Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you, Ty. See you in the
Thank you.
next episode.
Look forward
Bye
to it.
bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. Thank you.